Have you ever felt stuck, unmotivated, or like you just can't get yourself to do the things you know you should be doing? Maybe you've even called yourself lazy, but what if I told you you're not lazy at all? You're just lost. When you don't have clarity, purpose, or direction, it's easy to feel unmotivated. In this video, we'll break down why this happens and how to find your way back to focus, energy, and action. We often associate laziness with a lack of effort or a failure to meet expectations. But in reality, laziness is an incredibly misunderstood concept. Many people label themselves as lazy simply because they feel they aren't accomplishing enough. But this judgment doesn't take into account the deeper reasons for inaction. The truth is, the human mind is far more complex, and in many cases, what we think of as laziness is actually a symptom of something deeper: confusion, fear, or a lack of clarity. When we feel lost or disconnected from our goals, our motivation can simply evaporate. It's not that we don't care or that we're intentionally avoiding work. It's that we don't know where to direct our energy. Without clear direction, it's easy to get stuck in a state of inertia, which can feel like laziness. The constant pressure of expectations, both internal and external, can also overwhelm us, making us feel as if we're incapable of taking action. But these feelings are not a reflection of our abilities or work ethic. They are signs that we need to slow down and reassess our situation. The first step in addressing this laziness is to remove the judgment. You're not lazy, you're lost. You may have forgotten or lost sight of what drives you. Without purpose, it's incredibly difficult to move forward. And when you lack purpose, your mind starts to resist taking any steps at all, leading to procrastination and stagnation. But understanding this distinction is liberating. Instead of beating yourself up for being lazy, you can shift the focus to figuring out what you need in order to regain your sense of direction. The real challenge isn't overcoming laziness. It's discovering where you want to go and why it matters. When you think about purpose, it's not about having everything figured out in life or knowing the grand plan. Purpose can be something as simple as waking up each day with a sense of direction, even if that direction is small or evolving. It's about knowing that what you do, no matter how small, contributes to something meaningful to you. Without purpose, it's easy to get lost in the noise of daily life, constantly distracted and never fully engaged in any task. But when you reconnect with your purpose, even the smallest action takes on new meaning and significance. This doesn't mean you need to have a grand life mission or a big, lofty goal. Purpose is often found in the simplest things: helping others, being present with loved ones, pursuing a hobby you're passionate about, or working towards something that challenges and excites you. It's about finding alignment between your actions and your values. When your actions align with something that feels meaningful to you, motivation follows naturally. You won't need to force yourself to work. Your purpose will provide the drive and energy you need to keep moving forward. In a world full of distractions and constant change, it's easy to lose sight of our own purpose. We can get caught up in societal expectations, other people's opinions, and the noise of our everyday lives. But the truth is, your purpose is personal. It's something only you can define. When you take the time to explore what matters most to you, what you truly value and care about, you can begin to reconnect with your purpose. This process requires self-reflection, patience, and courage, but the payoff is immense. When you tap into your purpose, you tap into an endless well of motivation and clarity. This journey to reconnect with purpose may not happen overnight. It takes time to uncover the things that truly matter to you, and it often involves shedding old beliefs or expectations that no longer serve you. But once you rediscover your sense of purpose, everything changes. You begin to feel more energized, focused, and determined. You become less concerned with what others think or what you should be doing, and more focused on what feels right for you. Having a sense of purpose is like having a compass that guides you through the fog. It helps you make decisions, prioritize your time, and stay grounded during difficult moments. It also serves as a reminder that even when things are tough, there is a deeper reason for pushing forward. Purpose isn't just about achieving big goals. It's about living in alignment with who you truly are and what you want to contribute to the world. When you lack purpose, you may find yourself stuck in a cycle of indecision, overwhelmed by the weight of too many choices. You might feel like you're constantly moving but never making progress, and every task feels like an insurmountable challenge. This feeling of being lost is a common experience, especially in a world that demands constant productivity and efficiency. But what many people don't realize is that this state of paralysis isn't a result of laziness. It's often the result of having too many options and not knowing which one to choose. Decision paralysis occurs when we feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of choices available to us. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with options, from career paths to lifestyle choices to personal goals, and the pressure to make the right decision can be paralyzing. This sense of overwhelm can make us freeze, unable to move forward because we're unsure of which direction to take. The fear of making the wrong decision keeps us stuck in place, unable to make progress or take action. Overwhelm is also compounded by perfectionism, the belief that every choice must be perfect or else we've failed. This mindset leads to procrastination as we wait for the perfect moment to act or for all the details to fall into place. But the truth is, there is no such thing as a perfect decision. Life is messy, and decisions often need to be made with incomplete information. It's better to take action and course correct along the way than to remain paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. One of the keys to breaking free from this state of overwhelm is to simplify your choices. Rather than focusing on the entire scope of your life, break down your goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. When you reduce the complexity of the decisions you need to make, it becomes easier to take action. Start small. Focus on one thing at a time. This approach not only reduces stress, but also builds momentum, helping you move forward with clarity and confidence. Another helpful strategy is to set boundaries for yourself. When you're overwhelmed, it's easy to say yes to everything, trying to please everyone or to keep all your options open. But this only leads to burnout and further indecision. Learn to say no to things that aren't aligned with your values or goals. By eliminating distractions, you create more space for focused action. One of the most powerful ways to move past overwhelm is to embrace imperfection. Recognize that it's okay to make mistakes and to learn along the way. Not every decision will be the right one, and that's perfectly fine. The key is to keep moving, even if it's in a direction that later turns out to be less than perfect. Every step forward, no matter how small, gets you closer to clarity and action. And sometimes, just making a decision, even a flawed one, is all it takes to regain a sense of control and momentum in your life. By simplifying your choices, setting boundaries, and embracing imperfection, you can break the cycle of overwhelm and regain your ability to take action. This shift in mindset is essential for moving from a place of laziness to a place of purpose and clarity. When you can make decisions without fear or overwhelm, you begin to unlock your true potential. When we're stuck in a state of indecision, overwhelmed by the sheer amount of tasks and expectations, it can feel like we're paralyzed, unable to make any progress at all. This feeling of paralysis isn't laziness. It's a result of too much pressure and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. It's easy to get lost in the noise of everything that needs to be done, and when there's too much on our plates, it's hard to know where to start. The mind goes into overdrive, and instead of taking action, we freeze, unsure of where to focus our energy. This is what's known as decision paralysis, and it's a trap many people fall into. We feel overwhelmed not because we're lazy, but because we don't know how to prioritize or break things down. The constant mental juggling of 100 different tasks, all of which seem equally important, can create a sense of chaos that stops us in our tracks. When everything feels like it demands our attention, it's almost impossible to know where to begin. Instead of tackling one thing, we end up doing nothing. The key to breaking free from decision paralysis is learning to simplify. It's about recognizing that you don't need to tackle everything at once. When we're overwhelmed, we often feel like we need to do it all in one go. Finish a project, solve a problem, get everything in order. But this mindset only adds to the pressure and amplifies the feeling of being stuck. The first step is to step back, take a breath, and assess what really needs your attention. What is truly important in this moment? What can be put off? What are the tasks that align with your core priorities, and which ones can be set aside temporarily? Breaking your larger tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks is one of the most effective ways to eliminate overwhelm. Instead of looking at your to-do list as a huge mountain that needs to be climbed all at once, break it down into smaller steps. Focus on one task at a time and ask yourself, what's the smallest step I can take right now to move forward? This approach takes the pressure off and makes things feel more doable. It allows you to feel like you're making progress, even if it's just a small action. These small wins can quickly add up and create a snowball effect that helps you build momentum. Another powerful technique is to create a clear, realistic plan. When overwhelmed, it's easy to feel like everything is urgent and demands immediate attention. But when you sit down and outline a plan, you can prioritize tasks based on importance and urgency. Creating a timeline for yourself helps you see what needs to be done and when. This clarity will help reduce anxiety because you'll know exactly what to focus on next. Having a clear structure takes away the guesswork, making it easier to know where to direct your energy without feeling paralyzed. One of the biggest mistakes people make when overwhelmed is expecting everything to be done perfectly. Perfectionism is a common source of paralysis. The idea that we need to complete everything flawlessly without mistakes or imperfections can freeze us in place. The fear of doing something wrong or not meeting an arbitrary standard can stop us from even starting. However, the pursuit of perfection is often more damaging than helpful. In reality, perfection is an illusion. Nothing is perfect, and the more we chase perfection, the more we avoid doing anything at all. Instead of striving for perfection, shift your focus to progress. Even if the result is not perfect, every step forward brings you closer to your goal. Embrace the idea that done is better than perfect. This mindset allows you to take action, make mistakes, learn, and course correct along the way. It's a process of trial and error, and the more you embrace this imperfect process, the more progress you'll make. Another way to combat overwhelm is to learn how to say no and set healthy boundaries. When we're overwhelmed, It's often because we've said yes to too many things. We try to juggle commitments, tasks, and responsibilities that aren't aligned with our true priorities. But this constant yes-man mentality spreads us thin and leaves us feeling drained. Learning to say no is an essential skill. Saying no doesn't mean rejecting people or being selfish. It means protecting your time, energy, and focus. By saying no to things that don't serve your current goals, you free up space to say yes to what truly matters. Time management is also a crucial skill for overcoming decision paralysis. Without effective time management, it's easy to feel like you're constantly busy but not actually accomplishing anything. One way to manage your time better is by using techniques like the Pomodoro method, which involves working in focused 25-minute blocks with short breaks in between. This method not only boosts productivity, but also helps you stay focused on one task at a time, rather than feeling scattered and overwhelmed. By setting a clear time frame for each task, you'll reduce the temptation to procrastinate or distract yourself, allowing you to make steady progress without getting bogged down. Another effective time management strategy is batching tasks. Group similar tasks together to avoid switching between completely different activities. For example, if you need to respond to emails, handle phone calls, and work on a project, try to do all your emails in one block of time and all your phone calls in another. This minimizes the mental load of constantly shifting gears and helps you stay focused on one type of task at a time. When your brain isn't constantly switching between different activities, it's easier to stay focused and make more efficient use of your time. Sometimes, taking a break can also be a powerful tool for overcoming decision paralysis. When you're feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you need to keep working non-stop to get everything done. But this constant hustle can lead to burnout and even more paralysis. Sometimes the best thing you can do is step away, take a walk, or rest for a moment. This gives your brain the chance to reset and recharge, making it easier to come back to your tasks with a clearer mind and renewed energy. Above all, it's important to be kind to yourself. When we feel overwhelmed, we tend to be our own harshest critics. We berate ourselves for not doing more, for not being productive enough, for not being able to figure it out. But the reality is that everyone experiences moments of overwhelm and indecision. It's part of the human experience. Being compassionate with yourself allows you to approach your tasks with more grace, knowing that progress is often messy and non-linear. By simplifying your tasks, creating a clear plan, setting boundaries, embracing imperfection, managing your time, and giving yourself breaks, you'll begin to break free from the cycle of overwhelm. Remember, the key is to focus on taking small, intentional actions, rather than trying to do everything at once. With patience and practice, you'll move beyond the feeling of paralysis and into a state of forward momentum. Laziness is often a mask for something deeper, emotional and mental blocks that prevent us from taking action. When people feel stuck, they assume they just need more willpower or discipline. But the real issue is rarely a lack of motivation. More often, it's unresolved emotions, deep-seated fears, or subconscious beliefs that act as invisible chains, holding them back from moving forward. Understanding these internal barriers is key to breaking free from the cycle of inaction. One of the most common emotional blocks is fear of failure. The idea of putting effort into something only to fail can be terrifying. It's not just about the act of failing itself, but what it represents: disappointment, embarrassment, wasted time, or proof that we aren't as capable as we hoped. Many people would rather not try at all than risk failure. This fear creates avoidance behavior, procrastination, self-sabotage, or convincing ourselves that the task isn't worth doing in the first place. But fear of failure is a trick of the mind. Failure is an inevitable part of growth. Every person who has achieved anything significant has failed many times along the way. The key is to redefine failure, not as proof of inadequacy, but as a learning process. Each mistake brings valuable insight that moves you closer to success. Closely tied to fear of failure is fear of judgment. People often hesitate to take action because they worry about how others will perceive them. Will they look foolish? Will people criticize them? Will they be rejected? This fear can be paralyzing, keeping people stuck in a cycle of overthinking and avoidance. But the truth is, most people are too busy thinking about their own lives to scrutinize yours. And even if someone does judge you, their opinion has no real power over your life unless you let it. The only way to overcome this fear is to accept that judgment is unavoidable. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. But their thoughts don't define you. Only your actions and mindset do. Another major emotional block is low self-worth. If deep down, someone doesn't believe they are capable or deserving of success, they will unconsciously resist taking steps toward their goals. This can stem from past experiences. Maybe they were criticized as a child, made to feel like they weren't good enough, or experienced repeated failures that eroded their confidence. Over time, these experiences create a self-fulfilling prophecy. They believe they can't succeed, so they don't try, which leads to no progress, reinforcing their belief that they are incapable. Breaking this cycle requires changing the internal dialogue. Instead of focusing on past failures, one must intentionally shift toward self-compassion and self-encouragement. A person must start seeing themselves as someone who is capable of growth, rather than someone who is doomed to stagnation. There's also the issue of past trauma shaping present behavior. Unresolved trauma, whether big or small, can create subconscious resistance to progress. If someone has experienced rejection, betrayal, or abandonment, their mind may associate taking risks or stepping out of their comfort zone with pain. They might hesitate to pursue opportunities because they subconsciously believe that success will lead to more hurt. For example, someone who was constantly criticized by a parent or teacher might develop an internalized voice that tells them they'll never be good enough. Even if they consciously want to succeed, that voice in their head stops them from even trying. Overcoming this requires deep self-reflection and often emotional healing. Therapy, journaling, meditation, or simply allowing oneself to process old wounds can make a profound difference in breaking free from these hidden chains. Another invisible barrier that disguises itself as laziness is perfectionism. Many people believe that perfectionism is about holding themselves to high standards, but in reality, it's often an avoidance mechanism. The perfectionist thinks, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. This leads to chronic procrastination and avoidance of challenges. The need for perfection becomes an excuse not to take action because there's always something that could be better, more refined, or more polished. But the truth is, perfection is impossible. There will always be flaws, and there will always be areas for improvement. Instead of striving for perfection, it's far more productive to aim for progress. Taking imperfect action is better than taking no action at all. Done is always better than perfect. Beyond personal fears and self-doubt, there's also emotional exhaustion. People often mistake burnout for laziness. If someone is physically or mentally drained, they won't have the energy to take action no matter how much they want to. Chronic stress, sleep deprivation, or emotional strain can make even simple tasks feel impossible. The brain requires rest and recovery. When people push themselves too hard without allowing for breaks, they eventually hit a wall where motivation disappears entirely. The solution isn't to force productivity, but to allow space for rest, reflection, and self-care. Sometimes, the most productive thing a person can do is take a step back, recharge, and return with renewed energy. Lack of clarity is another major mental block. Sometimes people don't take action simply because they don't know what they truly want. They have a vague sense that they should be doing something, but they aren't sure what that something is. Without a clear goal, it's difficult to muster the motivation to take steps forward. This often leads to aimlessness, distractions, and a feeling of being stuck in place. The solution is to take time for deep introspection. Instead of focusing on what should be done based on societal expectations or external pressures, a person should ask themselves, what do I truly want? What excites me? What do I feel drawn to? Even if the answers aren't immediately clear, just starting the process of asking these questions can create movement in the right direction. Some people also struggle with attachment to old identities. If they have spent years seeing themselves as someone who is unmotivated, unsuccessful, or incapable, they may subconsciously resist change, even if they want to improve. Change is uncomfortable because it requires stepping into the unknown. Even if the current version of life isn't ideal, it is at least familiar. There is safety in familiarity, even if that familiarity is a cycle of stagnation. This is why some people sabotage their own progress. They are afraid of losing their old identity and stepping into something new. The only way to break free is to consciously let go of the outdated self-image. Instead of saying, "I'm just a lazy person," a person must start saying, "I am capable of change. I am becoming someone who takes action." Changing one's internal narrative is essential for real transformation. Another hidden block is resentment and suppressed emotions. Sometimes inaction isn't a result of laziness, but an unconscious act of rebellion. If someone feels forced into a situation they don't want to be in, whether it's a job, a relationship, or a societal expectation, they might resist taking action as a way of regaining control. For example, someone who was constantly pushed to succeed by their parents might subconsciously reject productivity as a way to reclaim their autonomy. In these cases, the solution isn't just to push through and work harder. The deeper issue needs to be addressed. Does this path truly align with what they want? Are they carrying resentment that needs to be processed? Understanding the root of their resistance is the first step in resolving it. Ultimately, overcoming emotional and mental blocks requires deep self-awareness. It's not just about forcing yourself to work harder or be more disciplined. It's about identifying the invisible obstacles that are keeping you stuck. Once you shine a light on these barriers, they start to lose their power. Fear, perfectionism, self-doubt, past trauma, burnout, and resentment are not signs of laziness. They are signals that something within needs attention and healing. When you address these internal challenges, motivation returns naturally. You begin to move forward not because you are forcing yourself, but because you have finally removed the weight that was holding you down. To understand why you might be feeling lost, it's important to consider the psychological concept of meaning. Humans need meaning in their lives to feel motivated, fulfilled, and driven. Without a clear sense of purpose, it's easy to feel directionless. This lack of meaning is one of the primary reasons why many people experience the feeling of being stuck or lost in life. They may go through the motions, fulfilling their obligations, but there's no deeper sense of connection to what they're doing. They're simply passing time without a clear understanding of why they're doing it or where it's leading them. This absence of meaning is not laziness. It's a sign that something deeper is missing. One of the key reasons people feel lost is because they haven't taken the time to explore what truly excites them. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to forget to check in with ourselves and ask, what do I want out of life? Often, people are too busy trying to meet societal expectations, to please others, or to follow a prescribed path, without questioning whether that path actually aligns with their own values or passions. The hustle and grind culture, with its constant focus on achievement and success, can easily drown out the inner voice that asks, what would make me truly happy? This disconnection from personal desires and the pressures of external expectations can create a sense of emptiness and confusion. Finding meaning and clarity in life requires introspection. It's about taking a step back from the noise of the outside world and really tuning in to your inner self. What activities or interests make you lose track of time? What would you do if you weren't afraid of judgment or failure? These questions can help you uncover your true desires. It's not always about finding the perfect answer, because sometimes our passions evolve over time. But it's about giving yourself the space to discover what resonates with you right now. People often think that they need to have everything figured out before they can take action. But the truth is, you don't need to have your entire life planned out. You just need to know what feels right in this moment and start moving toward that. One powerful way to find clarity and a sense of direction is to reconnect with your values. Our values are the things that matter most to us. They define who we are, what we stand for, and what we prioritize in life. When we live in alignment with our values, we feel fulfilled and purposeful. But when we neglect them, we experience internal conflict and frustration. Take some time to reflect on what truly matters to you. Is it family, freedom, creativity, or helping others? When you know what your core values are, it becomes easier to make decisions and take actions that are aligned with your true self. This process helps bring focus and intention to your life, and it makes it easier to move forward with purpose. However, reconnecting with your values can be challenging. In a society that often values external achievement, career success, financial wealth, recognition, it's easy to lose sight of what you truly want. Many people are so caught up in meeting others' expectations that they've forgotten what genuinely brings them joy. This misalignment between external demands and internal desires is a significant source of stress and confusion. It leads people to feel like they're drifting through life, unsure of their purpose or what truly matters to them. The process of reconnecting with your values requires self-compassion. Often people judge themselves for not having everything figured out, or they feel like they're wasting time. But the reality is, you don't have to know everything right now. You don't have to have all the answers, and you don't have to have a clear roadmap to follow. Instead, give yourself permission to explore. Embrace the uncertainty of not having everything figured out. Give yourself the space to try new things, make mistakes, and learn along the way. It's this process of exploration that will eventually lead you to greater clarity and understanding of your true purpose. In addition to exploring your passions and values, it's also essential to consider your narrative. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of have a profound impact on our sense of purpose. If you see yourself as someone who is stuck or lost, that becomes your reality. But if you shift your story to one of growth, possibility, and self-discovery, it opens up a new world of opportunity. Changing your narrative doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or difficulties you've faced, but it does mean reframing them as part of your journey. You are not defined by your past mistakes, failures, or setbacks. You are defined by your ability to learn, adapt, and continue moving forward. By embracing the idea that you are on a path of growth, rather than staying stuck in the idea that you are lost, you can start to see your experiences through a different lens. Sometimes, getting lost can be a necessary step toward finding yourself. In today's fast-paced world, there's a constant push to be productive, to have everything figured out, and to live with certainty. But life isn't always linear, and it's not always about having a clear path. Sometimes, feeling lost is a sign that you are being called to explore new territories, to let go of the old ways of thinking, and to embrace the unknown. Being lost doesn't mean you are failing. It means you are in a phase of transition and growth. This period of uncertainty may feel uncomfortable, but it's also an opportunity for transformation. The process of getting lost is often what ultimately leads to finding your true direction. It's important to recognize that being lost is not the same as being stuck. Feeling lost is part of the journey. It's a sign that you are at a crossroads, being asked to reevaluate your choices and your life's direction. While being stuck implies a sense of helplessness and resignation, feeling lost opens the door to possibility. It means that you are ready for change, that you are willing to question everything, and that you are open to new opportunities. Embrace this feeling of being lost as an invitation to step into something new, rather than seeing it as a negative state to be avoided. To move forward from this place of being lost, it's important to take small, actionable steps. Start by clarifying one small goal, one thing you can do today to move in a direction that feels right. This could be as simple as exploring a new hobby, setting aside time for self-reflection, or taking a break from the usual distractions to focus on what you really want. As you take these steps, you'll begin to feel a sense of progress and momentum. With each action, clarity begins to emerge, and the path forward becomes more apparent. The more you take action, the more you'll discover what resonates with you and where you want to go. Ultimately, feeling lost is a natural part of the human experience. It doesn't mean you are failing or that you lack direction. It simply means that you are in a phase of growth and self-discovery. Through exploration, reflection, and taking small steps forward, you can turn this feeling of being lost into an opportunity to reconnect with your true self and find the meaning and purpose that will guide you forward.